Hey guys, what I'm going to do is I am going to go over some of the things that Jason Chaffetz said here. Sorry about that. That was me. All right, do I really want the camera on me? Not really. Okay, so you can have my hand. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, so let's move on. This was
Their ongoing investigations. And Chairman Attorney General William Barr revealing he's set to release a big chunk of the Mueller report with some redactions by mid-April or maybe even sooner. But that might still not be good enough for Democrats. Here now, Fox News contributor, former House Oversight Committee Chairman Jason Chaffetz. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to see you. Now, you have the Attorney General coming out and say, look, folks, I've heard the complaints. I put out, the top line points directly from Robert Mueller last weekend. No collusion. Didn't come to a decision on obstruction. The Attorney General, the Deputy Attorney General don't believe there was obstruction. Now I'm going to give you, with sensible redactions, the report by mid-April or sooner, Jason. And they're saying,
okay. I need to say something before he starts to go into it. The whole purpose of what the Democrats are doing is they realize right now that they're in a world of hurting right now. So the only recourse that they have is to try to say, well, we need the unredacted version, and any obstruction of that is just is is just verifiable proof. Okay, they do know that them trying to redact 400 pages is not going to happen by April 2nd. That's why they picked that date. You had Nadler, the Khazarian Jew, as well as Schiff, a Khazarian Jew, picked these dates, and they're all gatekeepers for the DNC. The whole purpose is to try to get Trump out of office. That's what the whole purpose of this was. If you guys understand the whole end game, then you'll understand it. Mueller was supposed to be that piece that allowed them to say, okay, now we can start impeachment proceedings. He blew that for them. So now they're sitting there saying, yeah, but what we really need is the full redacted version, because what they want to do is they want to nitpick it through it, and they want to sit there and say, well, this proves this proves that. In other words, they're going to try to lie and deceive like they typically do, because they want to continually push the narrative, because what they want to do is use anything that they possibly can to try to say this is deserving of impeachment. And you'll have all of these Khazars like Blumenthal and all of these fake fucking Jews, man, come out, and then you have Pelosi, and you'll have Waters, and you'll have all of these people saying, and this we need to impeach the president, okay, and it's a complete and utter horseshit. Now, so what they're going to do is they're going to have redacted versions, and nothing's going to be given to them. Not enough is going to be given. And they're going to get upset over it. In other words, they're going to say that it's because Trump picked Attorney General Barr and he's a lackey for the president. Well, if they know that's complete utter bullshit, because every single Attorney General is picked by the president. Every single one. All right? But they're going to sit there and say, well, Sessions recused himself. Well, Sessions recused himself because Sessions was a part of the whole conglomerate system. He was part of that whole system to try to take down the president. And once the president figured that out, they say, hey, you need to fucking go. Okay. And Sessions was not a good guy. For all those people that think he was, I even see like Tucker Carlson to say that Sessions was a good guy. No, he wasn't. He was not. Okay. He recused himself very, very early, after he made sure that he hired the only person that would have hired Mueller. So he hired Rosenstein, which hired Mueller. It was all set up by the DNC. And that's going to come out one day in the future, that Sessions befriended Trump early in the campaign just as a insurance policy, just in case. That will come out someday. Sessions is not a good guy. So let's continue now. Let's go through this.
Not good enough.
Well, what Mr. Nadler and Chairman Schiff are saying really doesn't matter. The Attorney General is bending over backwards. He's not required by law to have to go testify about this, nor is he required to give a fuller accounting of the report.
It's exactly right. He doesn't have to do any of that. They could try to create. What they have? The House of Representatives said they wanted to pass a bill saying that they wanted the full report, unredacted version of the report, and they're trying to create a bill or something to have that done. That doesn't matter. It would be unconstitutional. The Democrats do anything they can to try to be unconstitutional. They're ridiculous people. Anyway, go on.
But he's going to. And the idea that, well, it's 10 days later than they want it, the Democrats just picked this date out of thin air.
Exactly what I said. They picked this date right out of thin air. Okay? They picked it closer to a date of impossibility of happening. That way they could say that Barr is acting on behalf of the president.
Trying to create an illusion that the Attorney General is being non-responsive, but that's nothing. I mean, that's just not true.
Well, and in fact, his letter, Jason, goes out and says, look, there's grand jury information that shouldn't spill out, so you're not going to get the whole report. There's sensitive, potentially classified information. We're talking about Russian intelligence and all of the rest in terms of the 2016 campaign. And then he also...
Meanwhile, while this is happening, the Democrats are affiliated with the whole caravan process to try to make sure that to change the narrative. Whenever the president they feel like the president has actually won or created a victory, the Democrats always try to steal the narrative back. And the way they try to steal the narrative back is by creating something very big, or they look for something big to change the narrative. So here comes 20,000 in a caravan, and that way, when the president actually closes the border, they can create another mess saying, "How dare the president?" and they'll try to sue the president, and they'll do all that good stuff. Okay, why? The resist movement. You need to understand the resist movement is nothing more than a communist movement to try to overtake our country. That's what it is.
Also went on to say, William Barr, that he is working directly with Robert Mueller to go through this report line by line on what should be held back. Doesn't that give him credibility when even Mueller is in the room?
Remember, this comes also on the heels, Ed, of an inspector general who chastised the Department of Justice in several hundred pages of a report for releasing information about people that were not indicted. They don't want to make that mistake again. But you're right, classified information, sources and methods. If there's other ongoing investigations, any of that material cannot, by law, be released to the public. So Attorney General Barr is doing exactly what is required by law and a lot more.
Democrats have said it's not good enough. Here's Speaker Pelosi. Watch.
No, thank you, Mr. Attorney General. We do not need your interpretation. Show us the report, and we can draw our own conclusions. We don't need you interpreting for us. It was condescending, it was arrogant, and it wasn't the right thing to do.
So that was the day before.
Good God. Democrats will stop at nothing.
For the Attorney General's latest letter, and he seemed angry that she said it was condescending for him to come out last weekend and give a summary. And it's interesting, Jason, that in this latest letter, the Attorney General says, hang on, folks, I wasn't summarizing anything. I was giving you the top lines from Robert Mueller himself, the guy that Democrats used to say was sort of this big god ready to come down with the tablets.
Look, the speaker is terribly frustrated. They never in their wildest dreams thought that this was the scenario they'd be dealing with. But this is...
It's exactly right. They thought they had it in the bag once again. Just like they thought they had the election in the bag, they thought they had Trump pinned with the Mueller investigation. Why? Because Mueller was a part of them. Mueller is one of them. How the hell could this actually stop? Okay.
The tactic of the resistance movement, just like Donald Trump said it is. That's what they do. They try to disparage somebody and their character, but she is fundamentally and totally wrong. And by the way, for the 8 years during the Obama administration, they had no affinity for openness and transparency. This is a new phenomenon for Democrats.
Well, you were there in Congress fighting with Eric Holder, Loretta Lynch, for many, many times over. Jason Chaffetz, appreciate coming in this morning.
Yeah, the Obama administration was hardly anything but, they were hardly anything but open. They were secretive, they were dishonest. Eric Holder was a sneak. A.G. Lynch was a sneak. They were all part of this little socialist gang. You know, Rice, Jared, all of them. Sneak. Clapper, Comey, Brennan.
Thank you.
All right, we got a lot coming up. In fact, one school actually saying that Donald Trump should not be president. That's one choice on a teacher's anti-Trump homework assignment. An outraged parent from the school district. Next.
If I had a teacher that said that to my kid, I'd go up to that school and I'd slap the shit out of that teacher. I would slap the shit out of her. Now, I want you to see something here. Where is that?
We're going to be applauding you. I might have some challenging questions. We'd love to have you. Come on, chat with us. I have a lot of questions. Of their movement. So maybe we should just take our victory and say no.
No.
Bad guy. This is
I'm trying to look for something.
Pivotal too, because you.
Here we go.
Here's
Never a good call. Oh, boy.
I said it for a while. There were a lot of videos out there and photos of Joe Biden.
That's right. Creepy Joe, touching kids, sniffing them. He's a freaking creep. Okay? Joe Biden. Creepy Joe. Oh, yeah, here we go. Let's do the anti-Trump homework. Okay, let's see this.
New reports show New York City attorneys are getting an extra $1.6 million to defend immigrants facing deportation. That's on top of $10 million already allotted to immigration cases. Mayor Bill de Blasio and the city council speaker brokered that deal. And the Kardashian-Jenner family is thanking the LAPD and ICE for arresting an illegal immigrant who actually broke into Kendall Jenner's home not once, twice. The agency taking the man from Canada into custody in New Mexico. Her family thanked ICE for their hard work, writing in part, knowing this individual is in custody gives us peace of mind. How about that, Pete?
Oh, it turns out ICE is your friend when they help you. And thank you very much. Well, to the trouble in our schools, there's a lot of that. An anti-Trump homework assignment sparking outrage amongst parents in a school in Texas.
Seventh graders were assigned to read student-written essays, one titled Trump Against American Values, and then apply them to one of these options. A, America's future is in danger. B, American leaders should promote equality. C, Donald Trump should not be president. D, Donald Trump will not be able to change.
Here to react is one of those outraged parents, Chris Felder, along with Texas State Representative Briscoe Cain. Chris, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So, first of all, your student comes home, your child comes home with this homework assignment. Are you surprised, and what was your reaction?
Yes, I was very surprised. She came home and she immediately came to me, set her backpack down, and brought me this assignment because my 13-year-old, mind you, knew that there was something wrong with the assignment. I actually read over it, and I had to read over it probably 3 or 4 times before I realized I was actually reading what I was reading, which is this assignment. And I was taken back.
Now, Chris,
I thought immediately.
Yeah, no, I just want to
thought
point.
immediately it had no place in our classrooms, especially with 7th grade English class.
Okay, now you went to the principal, because some of the criticism that you've gotten, as I've read online, is, oh, well, he should have gone to the principal first. You actually did go to the principal. You didn't hear back for a week, and by that time, you had contacted your representative because you felt you had no other recourse.
Yes, I actually sent the principal, who I know personally, an email. And, I'll usually get a response fairly quickly from him. When I did not receive a response from him, that's when I contacted Mr. Kane.
Representative, you stepped in and said we got to do something about this. Is this indicative of the types of things we're seeing in public schools? I mean, what can be done?
This is the indoctrination shit you're seeing. I told you, you're not only seeing it in colleges and high schools, but now you're seeing it in preschools. And so they're preaching this socialist mentality, this Marxist ideology, all the way to people who are 4 and 5 years old. No kidding.
Sadly, it's more indicative of the things that we're seeing on the college campus today.
Oh, yeah.
And the swamp that's in D.C. is overflooded and flooded into our classroom, into our local governments, into our state houses. There are things that can be done. While this teacher's been reprimanded, state law actually does allow her to be terminated, but it's very expensive. Some of the laws in Texas do need to be changed. Sadly, it's too late in the session to file bills on this, but I will tell you one thing. There's a very thin line between education and indoctrination, and that line was definitely crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
I want to point out some of these so people can really feel the weight of what we're saying, more of the multiple choice answers that were here. A, the United States will impeach Donald Trump. B, other Americans are also offended by Donald Trump. C, Mexican Americans are the major group upset with President Trump. D, future generations will have to deal with racism. I mean, you look at this, there is an obvious bias here. This is taxpayer money that's going into these schools. You send your kids to school, you expect them to get an education. You don't expect them to walk out with the teacher inflicting this kind of bias on them, Representative.
No, that's absolutely true. And that's why we're glad guys like Chris are willing to come forward. I'm pretty sure this happens all over the place, and people are just afraid to be mocked and yelled at. In fact, these guys have gone through things. Just because he came forward, people want to yell at them, and they want to play the victim. The real victim here is this child and their parents.
Okay, Chris, we got a statement from the school district, the Goose Creek School District. They said this. They said the passage was part of a series to help students practice inference and point of view. The matter was addressed with the teacher, and the materials will no longer be used. The teacher made a...
Get the fuck out of here. It's used as inference? Bullshit. That was used as indoctrination.
simple error in judgment and had no ill intent. Like all of us teachers are human and make
had no ill intent. Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Mistakes from time to time. Chris, do you give that a pass? Was this a simple error in judgment?
I don't believe so. I believe it was at the least very, very careless. She had to know the material she was presenting. And obviously if she read this, which she should have, and she should have known her material, she would have known how offensive it was. There's nothing but negativity in this assignment. I mean, there's nothing positive in it.
Chris, would you ever conceive of something like coming back for a seventh grader about former President Obama?
You know, the way our children are being indoctrinated in our schools nowadays, I can see them hearing that from some educators and them not being able to actually form their own educated opinion of him.
Yeah.
You know, Representative Kane, I worked in schools for a very long time. I taught grades 7 straight through college. This is not unusual. This happens all the time. I really think people are looking to elected representatives to do something because parents feel like they have no course of action when they see these assignments. They complain to the school sometimes, and sometimes nothing happens. So I appreciate you trying to do something about it. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank
Well,
you.
we're thankful for Chris having the guts to come
Yes,
forward.
and Chris, thank you so much
both
for
of
sharing
you.
your story and
I mean,
highlighting
thank
this
you.
problem. Really
Unfortunately, the
appreciate
college campuses have come to seventh grade.
That's
and
right.
That's a reality a lot of people have to pick up. Thank you both.
Thank you both.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all it was, folks. This is an attempt at indoctrination. It's not a oopsie-doo. No, this is an attempt at indoctrinating your children so that by the time they get into high school, they can continue the indoctrination into socialism and Marxism and socialism and communism by the means of their ideology called Marxism. All right, folks. This was last hour. This is not that old, okay? But I want you guys to see what is really going on, okay? Peace out.